Over the last few weeks, we've been talking about the idea that sometimes it takes a party to experience the life that Jesus promised. And we want to invite you to be a party starter, someone who is preparing the space for the party and making space for others to join. One thing we all see around us is the power of influence. But why is it that with all of this power at our fingertips, it can still feel like we don't have what it takes to be a party starter? Maybe you don't think you have enough influence on the world around you. Maybe you just never thought much about your influence, or maybe you see that you have a lot of influence, but it feels like way too high of a pressure to know what to do with or say. So you decide that there's no point in trying in the first place. I've struggled to believe that I have what it takes to be a party starter, that my words, actions, behaviors, and choices could have an impact on the world around me at all. What if you really do have what it takes to be a party starter? Today, we're going to be looking at a part of one of the most famous talks that Jesus gave during his time here on earth. I think the people came to hear what Jesus had to say because at the time, so much of what he was saying wasn't what they expected to hear. Jesus changed the game by showing people back then, and us today, what it really means to live a life that honors God. So let's take a look at some of what Jesus shared with the people on the mountain that day about what it means to start the party with their lives and their faith. You are the light of the world. Like a city on a hilltop cannot be hidden. No one lights a lamp and then puts it underneath a basket. Instead, a lamp is placed on a stand where it gives light to everyone in the house. Let's take a look at what Jesus says next. In the same way, let your good deeds shine out for all to see, so that everyone will praise your heavenly Father. Like those cities on a hill or those lamps in a dark room, we are the ones who get to shine the light of God's love in the world. Okay, just for a second, let me talk about those of us who consider ourselves Jesus followers. How do we shine that light? With the way we use our words, our actions, our gifts, our influence for good. When we realize that our actions, our words, our behaviors can influence other people and point them towards God, it changes the way that we see ourselves. A party starter lives like others are watching. Just know that if you've always assumed Christians were people who were supposed to be good and follow a bunch of rules, that's not what Jesus asked us to do. If we're supposed to be a light to the world and make sure that we're living like others are watching, what we do and say, does that mean that we can't make a mistake? God's Spirit is already working in the world around us all the time. And being a party starter who shines light into the world really just means to use what you have to help others see the work that God's Spirit is already doing. Here's what I love about this. No matter our insecurities, no matter our doubts, no matter how much influence we think we have or don't have, Jesus is reminding us that we have a purpose. And that purpose is to shine light on all God is doing in our lives and in the world around us. To use our lives, our talents, and our abilities to point others to God. To truly live like other people are watching our example. So, how can you do that? How can you live in a way that shines a light into the world around you? Well, here's how I would encourage you to think about something first. I need you to first ask yourself a question. Maybe a couple questions. Where do I have influence? Where do I spend most of my time? Who am I with on a regular basis? Who might be looking up to you? Who's listening to what you have to say? This could be in your home, with your family, in a small group at your church, on a social media platform, on your team, or even in your friend group. I know some of you may not think that you have much influence at all, but I promise, even if it's just with one person, that's big. You have what it takes to be a party starter, and that means that you have influence to point others to God. Then, ask yourself this. How can I be a light? What would it look like to use the influence that I have to be a light? How can I use my words, my actions, my choices, my time, my gifts to shine light into this world? Remember, you don't have to be perfect. Small, simple steps can make a really big difference. And remember, a party starter lives like others are watching. A party starter uses their influence to shine light on God's work in the world. And that's what I hope we all choose to do this week.